Anthony Sowell, a name forever etched in the annals of criminal history, instilled terror into the heart of Cleveland, Ohio. His actions left an indelible scar on the community, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk within a city. He became known as the Cleveland Strangler, a moniker that would forever be associated with fear and tragedy. This moniker was earned through his horrific crimes which shocked the nation and brought a sense of dread to the streets of Cleveland. Sowell's reign of terror spanning several years left an indelible mark on the city. His actions disrupted the peace and safety that residents once took for granted. 11 innocent lives were tragically cut short, each one a devastating loss to their families and the community. Their families were left to grapple with the unimaginable grief and loss, struggling to find a way to move forward in the wake of such horror. This essay delves into the chilling story of Anthony Sowell, exploring the factors that led to his descent into darkness. We will explore his troubled upbringing, examining the early influences that may have shaped his path. His military service will be examined, shedding light on how his experiences may have contributed to his later actions. We will also investigate the crimes that led to his capture and conviction, detailing the meticulous police work that brought him to justice. Through this exploration, we aim to shed light on the complexities of Sowell's life and the devastating impact of his actions. We will hear from experts and those who were directly affected by his crimes. It is our hope to honor the memory of the victims while providing a glimpse into the dark side of human nature. By understanding the past, we strive to prevent such tragedies in the future. Anthony Sowell's early life was marred by abuse and instability. From a very young age, he was exposed to an environment that no child should ever have to endure. The seeds of violence were planted early, and they would grow to define his life in ways that are both tragic and horrifying. Born in 1959, Sowell endured a horrific childhood. His early years were spent in a neighborhood where poverty was rampant and opportunities were scarce. The lack of stability and support in his formative years created a foundation of despair and hopelessness. He was raised in a household plagued by violence. Arguments and physical altercations were a common occurrence, leaving a lasting impression on young Anthony. The constant exposure to such turmoil made it difficult for him to develop a sense of security or trust. His aunt, who became his legal guardian after his mother's death, reportedly subjected him and his siblings to horrific physical and emotional abuse. This relentless mistreatment further eroded any semblance of normalcy in his life, leaving deep psychological scars. This abuse cast a long shadow over Sowell's formative years. The trauma he experienced was not just a series of isolated incidents but a continuous cycle of pain and suffering that shaped his worldview. Many experts believe that this early trauma played a significant role in shaping his psyche. The psychological damage inflicted during these critical years of development can have profound and lasting effects, influencing behavior and decision-making well into adulthood. The cycle of violence he experienced is a recurring theme in the lives of many criminals. It's a tragic pattern where the abused often become abusers, perpetuating a cycle that is difficult to break. It underscores the profound impact of childhood trauma. The experiences of our early years can shape our futures in ways that are both visible and hidden, influencing our actions and reactions in profound ways. While a troubled upbringing does not excuse Sowell's actions, understanding his past is crucial to comprehending the path that led him to become a monster. It provides context to the seemingly inexplicable, offering insights into the making of a criminal mind. The scars of his childhood remained with him, influencing his interactions with the world and ultimately contributing to his descent into darkness. The story of Anthony Sowell is a stark reminder of how early experiences can shape a person's destiny for better or for worse. In a surprising turn of events, Sowell enlisted in the United States Marine Corps at the age of 19. This decision offered a glimmer of hope. Could military discipline and structure provide him with the stability and guidance he desperately lacked? Sowell's military career was marked by both promise and turmoil. He excelled in certain areas. He even received commendations for his service. However, there were also signs of trouble lurking beneath the surface. The discipline and structure of military life seemed to have a positive influence on Sowell. He showed potential and received recognition for his service, but the darkness within him was not easily extinguished. Ultimately, the demons of his past proved too powerful to overcome. In 1989, Sowell's life took a sinister turn. He was arrested and charged with a violent assault. A woman accused him of attacking and raping her. Sowell spent 15 years behind bars for this crime. This marked a turning point. It solidified his trajectory towards becoming a predator. While incarcerated, Sowell's behavior was erratic and often violent. Prison did little to rehabilitate him. In fact, it may have exacerbated his anger and resentment. Upon his release in 2005, Sowell returned to Cleveland. He was a ticking time bomb, poised to unleash his darkest desires upon the community. His release marked the beginning of his reign of terror, as he preyed on vulnerable women who crossed his path. Section 5. The House of Horrors, Unveiling the Nightmare. In 2009, a horrifying discovery shook Cleveland to its core. The stench of decay emanating from Sowell's home on Imperial Avenue led police to a scene of unimaginable horror. Inside the house, they found the decomposing bodies of 11 women. The victims, all African American and many struggling with addiction or homelessness, had been strangled and their bodies left to rot throughout the house and backyard. The gruesome discovery sent shockwaves through the city and beyond. How could such atrocities occur undetected for so long? The house on Imperial Avenue became a chilling symbol of evil, a haunting reminder of the vulnerability of women living on the margins of society. Section 6. Justice Served. The Trial and Conviction of Anthony Sowell. Sowell was arrested and charged with the murders of the 11 women found at his home. His trial, which began in 2011, was a harrowing spectacle. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence against him, including DNA evidence linking him to the victims. The defense argued that Sowell suffered from mental illness and was not in control of his actions. However, the jury ultimately rejected this defense. Sowell was found guilty on 81 charges, including aggravated murder, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse. He was sentenced to death for his crimes. The guilty verdict brought some measure of closure to the families of the victims. However, their pain and loss continued to resonate throughout the community. Section 7. Appeals and Denials, the Fight for a New Trial. Following his conviction, Sowell's lawyers launched a series of appeals. They argued that errors during the trial, such as the admission of certain evidence and the court's refusal to move the trial to a different location, had prejudiced the jury against him. They maintained that Sowell deserved a new trial. However, these appeals were repeatedly denied. Courts upheld the original verdict and sentence. Sowell's fate was sealed. He would spend the rest of his days on death row. Despite the legal challenges, the evidence against Sowell remained overwhelming. Justice, it seemed, would be served. Section 8. Death Row and Beyond, the End of a Killer's Reign. Anthony Sowell died in prison in 2021 while awaiting execution. His death, from a terminal illness, brought an end to his reign of terror. While some argued that he deserved to face the ultimate punishment, others saw his death as a somber reminder of the complexities of the criminal justice system. Sowell's death did not erase the pain he inflicted, but it did mark the closing of a dark chapter in Cleveland's history. The families of the victims could finally begin to heal, knowing that the man who took their loved ones was gone. However, the scars of his crimes would forever remain etched in their hearts and the soul of the community. Section 9. Scars on the Community, the Enduring Legacy of Sowell's Crimes. The impact of Anthony Sowell's crimes extended far beyond the families of his victims. The entire community was shaken to its core, grappling with the horror and the loss. The emotional scars left behind were deep and pervasive, affecting not just those who knew the victims, but also those who felt a shared sense of vulnerability and fear. His case exposed systemic issues within the criminal justice system, particularly its failures in protecting vulnerable populations. The trial and subsequent media coverage brought to light the glaring inadequacies in how cases of missing persons, especially those from marginalized communities, were handled. The fact that Sowell was able to commit such heinous acts undetected for so long raised serious questions about police procedures and community awareness. It highlighted the need for better training, more resources, and a more proactive approach in dealing with potential threats. In the wake of the tragedy, community leaders, activists, and law enforcement officials came together to address these issues. They held numerous meetings, vigils, and discussions to ensure that such a tragedy would never happen again. They implemented reforms aimed at improving communication, increasing awareness of missing persons cases, and providing better support for marginalized communities. These efforts included community outreach programs, public safety seminars, and the establishment of support groups for those affected. The legacy of Anthony Sowell serves as a chilling reminder of the importance of vigilance, compassion,